In the cold mountains of Keogh, Colorado, Nels Coxman works as a snowplow driver, living a relatively quiet lifestyle with his wife Grace and son Kyle, who visits every now and again. Nels learns that he has a ceremony to attend where he will be receiving an award for his service and dreads having to give a speech in front of so many people. On the night of the ceremony, both get dressed and head into town. Nels receives the award for Citizen of the Year and struggles through giving a speech, but really is grateful for the consideration. Kyle works as a baggage transport at the local airport and is finishing up work one day when suddenly two armed men kidnap him and throw him into a van. Another kidnapped man is inside and uses the opportunity to jump from the van and escape under heavy gunfire. Afterwards, the men drug Kyle and knock him out. We then meet mob boss Trevor Viking Culcote, whose son Ryan ironically has a bully in his class. Viking urges him to fight back, but Ryan wants to be better than his bully, and from this conversation he shows that he is way different from his father. The men that kidnapped Kyle pull up to an open city park and drag an unconscious and drugged out Kyle to a seat and prop him up before leaving him there. Nels and Grace get the grim news that Kyle has passed away and drive into the city to identify his body. Both parents stare in shock and silence at Kyle's body, not even sure what to think. The detective tells them that Kyle died of a drug overdose, which shocks Nels as he knew his son did not use those substances. In the car, Grace is not sure what to believe about their son, but Nels is adamant that he knew his boy. The funeral is held soon after, but Nels's mind is far from at ease as he knows something isn't right. Nels finishes plowing one night and returns to his garage where he loads his gun, downs a bottle of rum and attempts to take his own life. Unaware to him, the man that escaped the van, Dante, is hiding there. He stops Nels from going through with the act, apologizing for what happened, indicating that it was all his fault for what happened to Kyle as he messed with the wrong people. Nels's depression quickly turns into rage and he demands to know which men were involved, and he learns the name Speedo. Nels heads over to a massive club and requests to speak to Speedo, who eventually makes his way over to him. The two stare each other down from a distance and Nels follows Speedo into an elevator. Speedo denies knowing Dante or Kyle, but Nels isn't playing his games and demands to know what happened. Speedo tells him to get lost, flashing his gun, but Nels sucker punches him and beats his face in. Nels drags him back to his van and begins going through Speedo's phone, still demanding to know what happened to his son. Speedo, with his smashed up face, barely manages to mention the name Limbo, another man whom he worked with. Having gotten what he needed, Nels brutally strangles Speedo before rolling him in mesh wire and throwing him into the river. Nels returns home where Grace is slowly pulling away from him after what happened. The next day Nels heads over to his workshop where he creates a sawed-off shotgun, then heads into town where he finds Limbo running a wedding store. Nels pretends to be interested in getting a suit, but Limbo has figured out who he is. He shoots at Nels but misses and gets knocked down with the sawed-off. Nels busts opens his mouth, demanding to know who killed his boy. Nels makes Limbo give his sawed-off a good time, before he reveals the name Santa, who works at the airport. Nels then shoots him point blank and also dumps his body into the river. The next night, Grace comes in revealing how Kyle had a Facebook, posted his favorite movies, and acts like this is some big revelation to his secret activities. The following day, Nels spots the man called Santa at the airport and begins to follow him in his massive snowplow. The man spots the plow closing in on him and tries to speed up, but Nels takes a different route and the two come face to face with each other. Nels makes his way over to Santa, explaining that he needs to pass, asking the man to back up, but suddenly knocks the man out and beat him to a pulp, but runs out of breath in his old age. Santa begins to laugh at Nels for being old, so Nels blows his head off, runs his car off the road before dumping him. Nels returns home only to find the house empty, as Grace has packed her things and ditched his ass, and he just sits and accepts this. Nice timing, Grace, women. Nels goes to visit his brother Brock, also called Wingman, a former hitman who worked for Viking's father. Nels tells him about Kyle's death and asks for his help, so Brock decides to make some calls. Nels learns that Kyle got mixed up with Dante, who stole a kilo from Viking, and Kyle ended up paying for it. Brock warns that Viking is more brutal than his father, but Nels simply tells him that he will kill the man no matter what. Viking learns about the disappearance of his 3 dealers and knows that something is wrong. He thinks that their rival gang, led by a boss named Bull, is trying to push them out of town. He sends 2 of his goons to track down and kidnap one of Bull's men and take him back to Viking, who with few words, shoots the man dead. The body is hung up on the town sign where 2 officers stumble upon the horrible sight. A distance off, Bull and his gang watch the officers take his body down. As it turns out, the man was Bull's only son and the boss vows to get revenge. Nels is leaving the bar one night when he is approached by young Officer Kim, who apologizes for what happened to his son. She meets her old partner inside where she has realized that the dead man is the son of Bull, and suspects that a drug war is brewing. Nels goes back to Brock and learns Viking's real name. due to him being dangerous. Brock suggests that he hire a hitman called the Eskimo to carry out the job and tells Nels how to get in contact. Nels picks up the Eskimo from the airport and gets him an old motel room where he pays him half of the money up front, and Eskimo ensures that he isn't a cop trying to set him up. Turns out, the Eskimo double-crosses Nels and brings the information to Viking about the hit on his head, hoping to sell the information on who it is. Viking pays over 90 grand and learns that Coxman made the hit. The only Coxman Viking can recall is Brock. Instead of gladly accepting, Viking berates Eskimo for not honoring his word with Nels, declaring that a man without ethics cannot be trusted, and gives the order for his enforcer Mustang to off him. Mustang and his associate Dexter dump the body, where it turns out that both guys are in a secret relationship and are planning to take their vacations together to spend time. Nels begins checking the news for confirmation of the hit but only sees Viking doing well and is confused. Brock is at home when Viking pulls up wanting to talk to him. Viking thinks that Brock is responsible, and surprisingly Brock plays along in order to protect his brother, even admitting to killing the other 3 gangsters. Viking threatens to torture Brock, who tells him to do his best as he is already dying of rectal cancer. Brock lies that Viking's father took his woman, which is why he did what he did. Brock tells Viking to get on with it and takes one last look at the snow before he is killed. Bull returns to his mansion, where he holds a formal funeral for his son. He angrily tells his men that he wants blood for blood, and a son for a son. Nels drives over to Viking's compound, and from a distance he sees Viking taking Ryan to school. Viking later meets with his men where he admits to them that they killed Bull's son wrongfully, and need to try and appease the man before a war breaks out. Dexter suggests that they apologize to the boss, but Viking wants to send a stronger message and suddenly shoots Dexter dead while Mustang stares in silence and shock. Viking orders his men to cut off Dexter's head and send it to Bull as a scapegoat. Bull's enforcer Thorpe and another gangster are scoping out Ryan's school, planning to snatch the kid once they get the chance. Officer Kim is following up on the brimming drug war when she gets intel about Dante, who was found dead from an overdose, and learns that he worked at the airport. She goes over to visit Nels, now believing that Kyle wasn't a junkie. She tries to get Nels to talk to her, but Nels refuses, stating he knows nothing. Viking sends over one of his men to Bull's compound, presenting Dexter's head in a well-wrapped box. The messenger explains that Viking wants peace, and Bull seems to accept the gift, but grabs the man, telling him a son for a son, and shoots him dead. Nels gets dressed in a suit and goes to meet Ryan as he is leaving school, telling him that his mother sent him over to grab him. Thorpe and his men spot Nels taking the boy away and give chase, but Nels manages to lose them and make his escape. Bull gets the news about Ryan and orders his men to hunt them down when they hear the messenger's phone ringing. Bull's man answers the call, telling them that their man is dead before setting out. Ryan figures out that Nels isn't his driver but seems strangely calm. Viking is freaking out from learning about his son's kidnapping. His ex-wife barges in and accuses him of kidnapping his own son and threatens to get full custody. Viking tries to slap her, but she grabs him by the nuts in front of his men, telling him to settle down. Bull's men are out hunting for Ryan when they get a hit on one of Viking's men at a motel. The man is hoping to surprise the maid in his room, possibly hoping for a happy ending, but Bull's man ambushes him instead and they shoot him in the dick. Bull's and his men pull into the town and grab a hotel room. However, the desk lady tells them they need a reservation. They accuse her of doing a racism and threatens to destroy her on Yelp, so she willingly checks again and finds them a room. Nels brings Ryan to his home, where the kid seems more fascinated than scared, asking Nels about his life. Ryan even suggests that maybe Nels should have brought him somewhere else to protect his identity. Nels makes him some eggs and tries sending Ryan to bed, but the kid requests that his kidnapper read him a bedtime story, which Nels does. After the story, Ryan lays his head on Nels' shoulder, saying that he prefers it here than home. The janitor from Ryan's school gives Viking a visit, hoping to get a tip for some information. He reveals Nels' true identity to Viking, but ends up getting killed. Nels contacts Viking, telling him to come alone to get Ryan back. Viking claims he is out of town, but is actually just arriving at Nels' house. The men burst in, guns drawn, but see no sign of Nels nor Ryan. They find a picture of Nels' truck and head out to his business place to pay him a visit. Meanwhile, Mustang gives Bull a call, betraying his gang and giving them Ryan's location. Nels and Ryan are out plowing the snow together when Kim and her partner stop them along the way, saying they notice cars by his house. Nels figures out what's going on and rushes over to his business, where he spots Viking and his men closing in on them. He hides Ryan inside, then prepares to ambush them. Nels takes aim at Viking as he gets out of his car, but suddenly a man comes up behind him holding him at gunpoint. Nels is brought before Viking, who begins punching and demanding he hand over Ryan. Just then, Bull's men pull up and begin shooting at Viking. Men begin falling from both sides and Bull steps out of his bulletproof car and begins to open fire on Viking, who tries to escape. Nels manages to get away from the gunfight and jump into his snowplow. ramming into Viking's car. The mob boss tries going for another car, but Nels uses another machine to grab a tree and smash it into the car. Unable to escape, Bull finishes Viking off with a direct shot and the two men get their revenge. Nels is making his getaway inside his snowplow when Bull climbs inside and holds Nels at gunpoint. The two drive away in silence until Bull realizes that Nels isn't a threat, lowers his gun and even takes a nap, realizing that he has made a new friend.